Welcome, Gemini. This is your monthly horoscope for May for the Sun or the Ascendant. If you're yet to subscribe to my channel, I'd be honoured if you did so now. Also, please comment and like. I interact with everybody who does. If you'd also like to subscribe to my monthly magazine, regular email updates, or your free daily horoscope, please click on the link beneath this video. Gemini, we're living in momentous times, and I want to try and present this forecast in as sensitive way as possible. I always do try not to trivialize astrology. This month gives you a rich opportunity with the North Node, the point of destiny, inverting into your sign, and it's going to be there from the 5th for the next 18 months. This is a nominal point, but it's a kind of gravitational pull of the emotional direction that we're all set to go in. And this one is saying that we all need to communicate much more effectively during that next year and a half. But also Venus, the planet of relating, is in your sign all month and will be with you through to the 7th of August. So that offers an opportunity too. But it is true to say that Venus is squaring up with Neptune, the planet of dreams, the planet of imagination, but also potentially the planet of distortion. So if you're single and you've got chatting to someone, potentially online, because we have had our freedom to move around somewhat limited by the COVID-19 crisis, if it is someone who seems to be really rather larger than life, well, that's magical, but wait a while before you really make a binding decision about this relationship. That's the best advice I can give you. And when it comes to your creative plans, and you may have been quite productive in thinking about how you can use what's affected all of us to an advantage to yourself in terms of falling back on your skills and talents that perhaps have lain untapped, this can actually be a very magnifying and helpful influence as long as you're realistic. Now, on the 7th, we do have a full moon. This is the most passionate full moon, the most intense full moon of the whole year. It occurs in the sign of Scorpio. Now, for you, this is your 6th solar house, which is about practicalities. But on the other side of the heavens, the sun is in the part of your horoscope that's more to do with ends and also the more psychological side of situations. Also, this particular full moon is linking positively to Neptune. I think what this is saying to you is that if there has been some interruption to your working schedule, perhaps due to the restrictions that have been in place or the financial impact, I can understand why this would be a genuine time of concern, as it is for many of us. But you're actually moving into a period, Gemini, where you're going to be manifesting some brilliant originality. So even if this full moon does bring up some anxiety, which would be understandable, do bear in mind that the sun in week 2 of this month is linking very positively to Neptune, and it can be your sixth sense, your gut instinct, or the more inspirational side of your ideas, which can yet come through. So don't let your fear pulverize your passion. This is absolutely vital, even if in the short term things do seem rather limited. Now, on the 11th, Mercury, your ruling planet, is going to arrive in your sign, and that's going to be the start of a process of renewal. It is true to say that Saturn goes into a retrograde on that day in your sister air sign of Aquarius. What it's been doing for you ever since the 22nd of March has been asking you to check out sources of information in a much more exhaustive way. It may have prevented some travel plans from happening because we know Saturn's about limitation, but I also think it may have given you food for thought about where you can learn new ideas, perhaps get more professional qualifications or engage in higher education, perhaps on a distant learning basis. But Saturn generally over the next 2.5 years is going to be pushing you to make the most of your ability to learn and widen your perspective. Now on the 13th, Mars moves to the top of your horoscope where you have Neptune, and this is going to be very, very positive for you, because from the 19th, through to the end of the month, Mars is going to be forging a brilliant angle to Uranus, which, like the Sun, at this stage of the month, is locked in your 12th solar house. Uranus there can undoubtedly making you rather restless, but the combination of Uranus, innovation, Mars, ambition and self-confidence in the sign of Pisces is going to be very positive for you if you embrace it. So that may mean falling back on past skills, the 12th house, but remodeling them, Uranus, innovation, in a new way, but then presenting them to a wider audience or a potential employer, Mars in the 10th house, in a confident fashion. Now, the 14th is going to see Jupiter go into a retrograde, which will last for 4 months, and this can be like a very large Mercury retrograde. Jupiter, of course, is the biggest planet. It's about expansion, but I think we've all discovered, we knew as the astrological community, that Jupiter is not at its best in Capricorn, but obviously this has been very much to the fore due to this crisis. But Jupiter in this area, the 8th house where the retrograde begins, of course is also at the present time alongside Pluto, the planet of change. So I do feel that if a source of income does dry up this month, you are going to be evolving. And as we move into the last third of this month, some very exciting stuff is developing. And I think this is going to be echoed in the world at large. I genuinely do. So on the 21st, the Sun moves into your sign. But on the same day, Mercury goes alongside the retreating Venus, because Venus does go into a retrograde from the 13th. Now, there will be lots of astrologers telling you that Venus retrograde is going to be very unlucky for you. I think if we think about Venus as attracting things, it's just saying to you, especially in terms of personal relationships, don't be too seduced by the exterior. So the retrograde asks you to think about your relationship to relationships or to yourself in a deeper, more profound way, particularly because it's tangled up in that right angle to Neptune, which can, of course, tempt us, delight us in some ways because it's enriching your imagination, but also potentially distort. But this collection of energy on the 21st, 22nd and 23rd, and then also threaded into the 22nd, we have the new moon in your sign, is an awesome opportunity to dust yourself down in that inimitable way of yours and go again. It's also forging a superb angle to Saturn. So Saturn may be retrograde, but this new moon is supported by it. So for the following month, so through to the 3rd week of June, it's a chance for you to cut a new swathe, to really rejuvenate yourself, to refocus your goals, to be much more focused on what makes you individual, rather than being too worried about what anyone else is doing. Now, it is true that Mercury moves out of your sign on the 29th into Cancer, and it's not at its best in Cancer, but for you, it's the 2nd house. So here you can start to see the small shoots of recovery in terms of your finances and resources. It is true to say that the Sun is in a square the last 3 days of the month with Mars, because Mars has moved to the top of your horoscope. So Mars square the Sun, 2 mutable signs, Mars in Gemini, the Sun in Gemini, Mars in Pisces. So maybe if you're trying a little bit too hard to seek attention from important or influential people for your individual ideas, if you push it too hard, you may receive some resistance. But I think there is a very transformational angle from the Sun to Pluto at the very heart of this month. And if you've really listened to your inner voice and you've tapped into your deeper personal resources, by the time that collection of energy develops from the 21st, you're really coming into your power. This isn't a time to accept that everything has changed in some ways. There is a kind of new reality that's dawning, but you can seize the opportunity, most of all, I feel, because of the North Node, but I do feel that Venus can still be very useful to you if you use her energy in a wise way. So that's not being fake, it's about being totally authentic, but at the same time, if you do want to give yourself a makeover on the back of this new moon, then do it. It will do your confidence a world of good, and I think you're going to be quite a leader in the direction of travel that we as the human race are going in. And it is all about better communication. So we're going to see some apps coming in which help to deal with COVID-19, which are going to be very clever. Now, there may be part of your nature and mine that may think, is this going to be a breach of our human rights? But I think you'll find that a lot of us will want to use this technology because this is going to speed up the recovery quite rapidly. So I think as this month comes to a close, you're going to be sort of maybe a little bit starry-eyed from what's happened, but you are emerging into the light. You're the leader of the new dawn that's coming through. And it's going to be very interesting how all of us deal with this. But with Saturn in your sister sign in a triplicity, supporting your sun and the new moon, and Mercury and Venus together, all around the 21st, 22nd, 23rd, that's an awesome time for you to really set your platform to spring forwards with enthusiasm and energy. I wish you all the best. Thank you so much for joining me for your monthly horoscope forecast. I'd love it if you would subscribe to my monthly magazine and my regular mail-outs, which are high quality astro journalism. You can also get your free daily horoscope within this emailed to you each day. Then again, if you'd like to have a one-to-one with me or order your personal 12-month forecast and character analysis and get 30% off them, please see the links beneath this video. But for now, good luck and goodbye.